if you don't do it all the time. So why do it? You can read cards that respond to them directly, but first, I think you should do the first form. Because if you go to their playground, they're going to beat you up. Keep them on your ground. Any questions about that? I think we're almost done.
Yeah, it's like 8:19.
Questions before y'all go? Yeah.
As a judge, if we just like group all, if they just were like consult Ashtar and Wipeout, and like all these stupid arguments, and we said, look, our evidence from qualified people, don't evaluate this, and then move on to any substantive debate work you need to do.
Dangerous way to answer that. I think you got to go to Wipeout, and you definitely have to read a card that defends that humans are good. I think you got to make a couple logical arguments about why their cards might not make sense, and then you can move on. If they read consult Ashtar, like I said, be careful that you don't trip the switch on the religious intolerance turn, because that's the common trick. But I think that you can get a lot of mileage out of cross-ex by asking them about the channeling process. Because generally judges will be like, well, that is silly. I do not actually want to vote for that because that is dumb. And you will win the debate in cross-ex. Now, you do have to make that argument in the speech. You'd be like, remember in cross-ex when we were going on about how silly channeling is? It might not be a good idea to rest the human species on this, or to rest the plan, which is probably a good idea. Also, cut the say yes cards. Remember, email the crazy people and get a say yes. Yeah?
You said for Ashtar, like, the best way to win is to get them to say that they're stupid because their religion is stupid, and then the intolerance thing?
Yes. Well, that's the trick, right? That's what you're hoping will happen.
What if they don't say that? Like,
if they don't, you can still go for it. You just gotta saddle up and ride the Ashtar home. You just gotta be like, we meant it, it's real, and you put a lot of eggs in that basket, you know?
Is it possible to win like that? I told you.
You gotta know the judge. You gotta know your judge. Some judges will vote for it because they think it's cool. If you have a judge that's really young, they might be apt to do that. Some judges will vote for it because their game's playing paradigm, and you've won the game of debate, or they're tabula rasa, they'll listen to anything. If you're going to win on something like that, then you've got to debate it like a dissent, or debate it like a real counterplan, and do the calc work, and do the real in-depth discussion with draw points. It is a little weird, because, you know, it's a crazy position, but it's doable. That's why I don't recommend a 1 and C that, well, I don't even know how you read that many cards. It's like, no, it only has Ashtar. Ashtar shouldn't be your ace strat. That's right, the last thing I forgot to say. So, when are these arguments useful? They're useful when you want to rile someone up, when you know someone's a total spaz, and will spend a ton of time on these, and then when you can laugh at them and move on. These should not be arguments you plan to go for in the 2-1. It's just not. It's not that good, you look dumb in front of judges, and it's not a game winner. But it is a good way to shift the time allocation in your favor, a good way to make them look silly, and a good way to read a no-risk argument. Because there's very little offense that people can put on these, unless they read this critique of conspiracy theory. And like I said, I think Goldberg is your boy on that, and I think you're good to go. You strap up, say it causes bad education in the political realm. A lot of judges are going to be down with this. You can point to the Tea Party as an example of what happens when conspiracy theorists take over. As long as your judge isn't a Tea Partier, you're looking real good. So be careful. So if you're planning to run these, run them when you think you can get a rise out of the other team, and when, unless you're trying to do the communication guerrilla strategy that we talked about, and when you're answering them, make sure you don't get riled up. Does that answer your question? I don't want y'all to think that I'm like totally down on these arguments, because I used to run them and I think they're really funny, but we would never run them thinking we would go for them in the 2-1. Simply because it's very rare that you'll find a judge that's willing to do that. A lot of judges aren't willing to hold your hand and make that walk with you. But they will through the block, and you can extend it to put pressure on the 1AR if you want. You can...
What about that flat earth one?
Draw them away. The flat earth one actually is one that I do think you would go for.
They have a file on cross. So what's an idea of a case you could do about a DA you could do with flat earth?
So what?
What's an idea of a DA you could use with flat earth?
Like how do you respond to flat earth?
You know, what's an argument you could do this year using
Oh, flat earth is a presumption argument. Flat earth is just an argument that says, I guess in another way you could make it even somewhat more offensive by saying it's just to get your tax dollars. But flat earth, you just read as a presumption argument. You say space doesn't exist, it's not real, they're lying, vote neg on presumption. Here's our science. Where's your science? Like I said, there are those cards from those people from the Flat Earth Society that say Satanists believe the Earth is round, that it's a trick for the government to get tax money. You can read those cards for the fun of it, but I think you read it as a presumption argument, no risk. If you got the right kind of judge, they'll settle in with you and say, yeah, you're right. They have no proof that the Earth is round, and vote for you. Like I said, I say that I think that is an argument that you could go for simply because, well, I guess it's a solvency argument, right? Can't solve for something that's not real, judge. Don't read that in front of a parent. Never read fake arguments in front of a parent. Never, ever. Not even if there's a fire. Not even if it's the only thing you have to say. Make something up. Spend your whole 8 minutes doing case pimps instead of reading fake arguments in front of a parent. Because they will be so mad. And it looks really bad for the activity. It's just not good. In a time of budget crunch when we're already losing money.